So, you're thinking about exporting from Bangladesh to Brazil in 2026? It's a massive opportunity for sure. But let's be honest, it can also feel like a really complex challenge. The secret, though? It's not about luck. It's about treating every single shipment like a well-managed project.
And hey, that's not just me saying that. MD Joynal Abdin, who's a real expert in this trade lane, puts it perfectly. If you treat the shipment as a managed project, you can control cost surprises and prevent delays. That project-based approach, that is exactly what we are going to break down today.
So let's dive right in. Over the next few minutes, we're going to hand you the blueprint for that very project, setting you up to nail your first shipment.
All right, first things first. Phase 1. We're calling this the Brazil check. Look, before you even think about quoting a price or signing a deal, you have to scope your project. This is the foundation for everything.
And that starts with 3 tasks that are absolutely non-negotiable. First, you've got to confirm your product's HS code here in Bangladesh and its Brazilian twin, the NCM code. Second, you have to check if your product is regulated over there. Does it need special licenses? And third, you've got to choose the right Incoterms for the deal. Get these 3 things sorted, and you're already way ahead of the game.
So, what on earth is this NCM code? Well, think of it as your product's 8-digit passport for getting into Brazil. It's so important because that single code determines the taxes, the rules, pretty much the entire import process. Seriously, getting this code right is the bedrock for everything that follows.
Next up, you have to choose your Incoterms. The 2 you'll hear about most are FOB and CIF. With FOB, or free on board, your job is basically done once the goods are loaded on the ship in Chattogram. It's usually easier to price. Now, with CIF, cost, insurance, and freight, you handle everything until the goods arrive at a port like Santos. You get more control, yeah, but it's more work, and here's the kicker, it can actually increase your buyer's final tax bill.
Okay, on to Phase 2, assembling your export toolkit. This is all about getting your own house in order, right here in Bangladesh.
Think of this as your export identity checklist. You need your export registration certificate, or ERC, your trade license, TIN, and VAT registration. But beyond just the papers, you absolutely need a solid relationship with your bank, and you'll want to get comfortable with the ACS Kudo World system, which is used for customs declarations.
Now, let's talk about the most critical banking document of all, the EXP form. This is not just more paperwork, it's a legal declaration. It's the official link between the stuff you're shipping and the money you're going to get paid. It's how the government makes sure everything is legit.
Okay, Phase 3 is the project blueprint. Now we're getting to the fun part, drawing up the architectural plans for your shipment. These are the core documents that spell out the entire deal.
And this brings us to what is probably the single biggest piece of advice for any new exporter to Brazil. You have to confirm all the compliance rules on the Brazil side before your product gets on that ship. Why? Because shipping a regulated product without the right license is the fastest way to turn your potential profit into a financial nightmare of storage fees and return freight.
So how do you avoid that? Your contract has to be airtight. We're talking precise product descriptions, the confirmed HS and NCM codes, your chosen Incoterms, and a full list of every single document required. Your contract is basically the script for this whole transaction. Any vague language is just asking for problems.
Let's move on to Phase 4, costs and budgeting. This is where we build what's called a landed cost model. Now, you might be thinking, wait, my buyer pays for all that, why should I care? Well, because understanding their costs is your secret weapon when it comes to negotiating.
Of course, we can't talk about costs without talking about Brazil's famous import taxes. It's the question on everyone's mind, and for good reason. They're not simple.
Okay, so here are the main layers. You've got the basic import duty, a federal tax called IPI, some social taxes known as PIS and COFINS, a state-level tax that's like a VAT called ICMS, and even a surcharge on the ocean freight. It definitely looks intimidating, but just knowing these exist helps you understand your buyer's reality and price your products way more strategically.
And now we're at the final phase, execution and delivery. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's all about managing the shipment and navigating that long timeline. Let's be real about this timeline. Just the sea journey from Chattogram to Santos can take over 34 days. So when you add in the time for contracts, for customs here in Bangladesh, and then clearance in Brazil, you're easily looking at a 10-week process from start to finish. Planning for that from day one will save you a ton of stress.
So where do things usually get stuck? Let's call these the delay zones to avoid. Mismatched info across your documents is a classic one. Using the wrong NCM code, forgetting a certificate. And a huge one is when the buyer starts their import licensing process way too late. Every single one of these is avoidable, and every single one is expensive.
Looking ahead to 2026, this gets even more important. Brazil is rolling out a new digital system called DUIMP, which basically demands perfect, structured data. This means when your buyer asks for details, responding fast isn't just good customer service, it's actually a form of cost control to avoid those crazy port storage fees.
So let's tie it all together with a final checklist. 1. Start with compliance and product classification, not with price. 2. Get all your Bangladeshi paperwork ready early. 3. Make sure your invoice, packing list, and bill of lading match perfectly. 4. Talk to your buyer about their import license needs. And 5. Understand their total costs so you can price your products smartly.
So, there you have it. You have the blueprint, you know the phases, you know the common mistakes, and you know the keys to getting it right. Your first export project to Brazil isn't some far-off dream. It's a manageable plan, and it's ready for launch. The only question left is, are you ready to start?